To start, let's quickly review a few capabilities we've already touched on. You can toggle the grid lines in your worksheet with Alt W V G. I'm going to turn it back off because I think that looks a little bit cleaner. Note that this only toggles grid lines in your current worksheet. If I create a new worksheet, you'll notice that my grid lines are back. So I can toggle it here. And if I go over to my liquidity data sheet, if I turn them on, they're still going to be off on this new sheet that I've created. In the same area, if I hit Alt W to go to the View tab, you'll notice up here, right by our grid lines checkbox, there's a Headings checkbox. If I hit V and then H, it removes my row and column headings. So you can do this to create a little bit more real estate when you're using Excel. Personally, I usually like to keep these visible, especially when I'm teaching, because I use them as references. But if you like to have more space, then you can make that adjustment. Finally, in that same section on the View tab, there is a formula bar checkbox, and as you might guess, if you hit VF, that will hide your formula bar to give you even more space. So if I wanted to, I could also hide my headers, and with my formula bar and my headers and my ribbon hidden, I now have a lot of space to work in Excel. So this can be a nice view if you are working with large data set like you have right here, just so that you can see more as you're working. But I'm going to go ahead and return those settings to how I have them. We already touched on some of the zoom capabilities on the Alt tab. Once you're here, you can hit Q to specify your zoom. You can go to a specific percentage that's preset using your arrow keys here, or I can tab into this custom and set a custom zoom. I'm going to escape out of there and not change my zoom. If I go back to that tab, I could hit J to return to 100%. So right now I am 100%, but let's say that I adjust it with this zoom. I go out to 50%. If I want to quickly return without having to specifically type in 100%, then I can just hit Alt W J and return to 100% zoom. Also in this section is this zoom to selection option. What that does is, let's say that I have a large table here. This data goes all the way down to 805 rows, but let's say that I had something that's just slightly larger than my screen here. Like let's say it went down to row 40. I could highlight that and then Alt W G for zoom to selection, and now my screen is perfectly fit to the selection that I highlighted. If I had a data table that was a little bit smaller, or if I wanted to zoom in on a specific section, like let's say I just wanted to zoom in here, I could Alt W G, and now this data is perfectly fit to my screen. I'm going to return with Alt W J to get back to 100%. For most of this course, I recommend that you do not use the mouse because it's so much more efficient to just force yourself to learn the Excel shortcuts for whatever you're going to do. But one case where it is useful to use the mouse is if you don't know a specific zoom percentage, you can adjust a little bit at a time by holding the control button and then using your mouse scroll wheel. So if I scroll down, I'll zoom out one step at a time. And if I scroll up, I zoom in one step at a time. So that's a nice way to quickly adjust your zoom. If you don't want to, hit Alt W Q and then choose from one of these options, or type in a specific number into the custom field.